Hi everybody, welcome to Weathersfield Proctor Library Storytime. I'm Glenna Coleman, Youth Services Librarian, and this is our Library Bear. Are you ready for a couple of stories? We're going to read a couple of stories about being yourself. Our first story is called Marsupial Sue. Oh, we're getting a bit of glare there, aren't we? And this is by John Lithgow, and it is illustrated by Jack E. Davis. Now, you know what a marsupial is? It's an animal that has a pouch in which it raises its young. This is Marsupial Sue by John Lithgow, illustrated by Jack E. Davis. And this is a rhyming book, so let's see if you can keep up with the rhymes. Marsupial Sue, a young kangaroo, hated the hopping that kangaroos do. It rattled her brain. It gave her migraine, a backache, side ache, tummy ache, too. One morning in May, Sue wandered away, leaving her relatives grazing on hay. What did she see? Way up in a tree, koalas gaily at play. And suddenly, Sue was convinced she had found a way to escape all that bouncing around. She climbed to the top, she heard a loud pop, and howling in pain, fell again to the ground. Marsupial Sue, a lesson or two. Be happy with who you are. Don't ever stray too far from you. Get rid of that frown and waltz up and down beneath a marsupial star. If you're a kangaroo through and through, just do what kangaroos do. You suppose she'll take that advice? With summer at hand, the weather was grand, so Sue stole away from her kangaroo band. Oh, it sounds like she didn't take that advice. Combing the shore, she heard someone snore. A platypus, asleep in the sand. How cozy, she said, completely misled, ignoring the probable trouble ahead. Oh, sorry, I'm going to change position here to be a little more comfortable. How perfect for me, a life by the sea, all snug in a watery bed. So she flopped in the mud with a thud and a shout. She swallowed a scallop, a shrimp, and a trout. By 1:45, the poor kangaroo had typhoid pneumonia, colic, and gout. Oh my, that sounds serious. Marsupial Sue, a lesson or two. Be happy with who you are. Don't ever stray too far from you. Get rid of that frown and waltz up and down beneath a marsupial star. If you're a kangaroo through and through, just do what kangaroos do. Do you suppose Marsupial Sue will take that advice? Let's find out. That autumn, once more, Sue got to explore a creature she'd never laid eyes on before. A version of her in miniature, a wallaby with cousins galore. Before very long, Sue joined the throng, flouncing and jouncing and bouncing along. Happy and free, she shouted with glee, "At last, I'm where I belong." Then she looked at the wallaby, sprightly and small, exactly like her, only not quite so tall. She widened her eyes and cried with surprise, "A kangaroo's life's not so bad after all." Marsupial Sue, no longer so blue, you're happy with who you are. He'll never stray too far from you. You're rid of that frown, so waltz up and down beneath a marsupial star. You're a kangaroo through and through, so do what kangaroos do. You're a kangaroo through and through, so do what kangaroos do. And there's the musical score with the words. I hope you enjoyed Marsupial Sue by John Lithgow. It's illustrated by Jack E. Davis. Well, Marsupial Sue discovered that being a kangaroo was not so bad after all, huh? Here's another story about being who you are. This one is called Wow, It's Great Being a Duck. And this is by Joan Rankin. Well, I don't know, I've never been a duck. But we'll find out why it's so great being a duck. Wow, it's great being a duck by Joan Rankin. Here it is again. It's great being a duck. And here, what do we have? We have a duck egg, right? Lily was the last born, the last to hatch, and the smallest and tiniest. All the other ducklings had already left the nest when at last Lily's egg began to crack. Lily peeped out. She saw her mother's eye, then she saw her mother's feathers and her mother's feet. Crash! Lily fell out of her egg into the big world. Lily's mother was very proud. She wanted everyone to admire tiny Lily. Come swim, quacked Lily's older brothers and sisters. Come along, Lily, coaxed Mother Duck. You must learn to swim, or furry legs, long tail, sharp snout, pink-tongued fox will gobble you up. But Lily did not want to take her feet off the ground. I told you I'd drown. So while her brothers and sisters were swimming and diving, Lily practiced walking. Plomp, plomp. One foot after the other into the dark green forest she walked. Along the long and winding path she went until she met Mr. Furrylegs. What's a nice little duck like you doing in the dark green forest? Asked Mr. Furrylegs. I'm walking, replied Lily proudly. You can see right here, this is the edge of her shell, so this is what she can see. She can only see the legs. You are very small and skinny, remarked Mr. Furrylegs. I will show you where you can eat tender nasturtium leaves. You need fattening up. Lily ate so many nasturtium leaves she could hardly waddle home. A week later, she met Mr. Furrylegs' Longtail. My, you do walk well for a duck, said Mr. Furrylegs' Longtail. Thank you, said Lily. I shall never take my feet off the ground. It's far too dangerous. I love walking too, said Mr. Furrylegs' Longtail. Let's stroll together into the forest, and I'll show you some tasty things for a growing duck like you to eat. Lily ate many wild berries. She ate until her beak turned purple. She ate until her feathers turned purple. How do you feel? Asked her new friend. Fat, replied Lily. Good, said Mr. Furrylegs' Longtail. I like fat ducks. Oh my, that does not sound good. The following week, Lily returned to the berry patch. and there she met Mr. Furrylegs Longtail Sharpsnout. While she looked for any remaining berries, they talked. "Do you have a large family?" asked her companion. "Oh, yes," said Lily. "I have lots of big brothers and sisters." "Really? Then I must show you where to find snails. I believe they are very good for making ducks. Big, strong, and fat." The snails were so tasty, so absolutely scrumptious, Lily stayed until she had eaten every one. "Do bring your brothers and sisters next time," called Mr. Furrylegs Longtail Sharpsnout. "Okay," said Lily, "but they can't walk as quickly as I can." And off she waddled, her tail dragging on the ground. The next week, Mr. Furrylegs Longtail Sharpsnout Pinktongue came walking along the forest path. There he found Lily sitting alone on the path, sobbing. "Why are you crying all by yourself?" he asked. "My family has flown away to a bigger pond," she wailed. "Oh dear, I was hoping to have a party with all of you, but why don't you come along with me?" Lily stopped crying. "You are kind," she sniffed, as she got up to follow her new friend into the dark green forest. "Hurry, hurry! You really must walk a little faster," said Mr. Furrylegs Longtail Sharpsnout Pinktongue, licking his lips. How rude, thought Lily, resting for a while. Come on, he snarled at her. "Just who does he think he is?" quacked Lily, looking up. She glared at his furry legs. She studied his long tail. She observed his sharp snout. She goggled as his pink tongue slipped across a row of needle-sharp teeth. Lily squeaked and Lily squawked when she saw Mr. Furrylegs, Long Tail, Sharp Snout, Pink Tongue, Fox. Quickly, Lily turned and ran. Flap, flap, flop, flop. Faster and faster along the winding path through the dark green forest back to the pond. Oh my goodness. Splash into the pond. Paddle, paddle, faster and faster. Lily could hear the panting breath of Mr. Fox. She could feel his prickly whiskers on her tail. Paddle, paddle went her feet. Flap, flap went her wings. Suddenly, Lily was flying. Up, up over the pond. Up, up over the trees. Right out of the reach of Mr. Fox. Up, up over the hills and onto the other side. Below, in a big pond, she saw her family. Down she glided and landed just like an expert. Look, look, quacked her brothers and sisters. Hey, Lily, we thought you could only walk. So did I, said Lily. But now I do everything. And she could. Wow, it's great being a duck. Gee, it's tough being a snail. Well, I hope you enjoyed Wow, It's Great Being a Duck, written and illustrated by Joan Rankin. Well, Library Bear, I'm glad that I'm a librarian, and I bet you're glad you're a library bear. We'll see you next time. This is Glenna Coleman, Youth Services Librarian and Library Bear at the Weathersfield Proctor Library. See you at our next story time.